It is said he is to computer software what Thomas Edison is to the light bulb.
It was 1980. IBM, the most powerful technology company in the world, was about to enter the personal computer market. They had everything: money, engineers, and influence. They had built computers for governments, banks, and NASA. And now, they wanted to bring that power into people's homes. There was just one problem. IBM moved too slow for the revolution that was coming. So instead of building their own software, they turned to a small company run by a 24-year-old kid named Bill Gates. IBM would make the hardware, Gates would license the software. What they didn't realize was that this deal would make Microsoft the most powerful company on Earth and leave IBM watching from the sidelines of the very revolution they started. Welcome to Missed Billions Explained, where we uncover the billion-dollar mistakes that shaped the modern world. If you love stories about innovation, arrogance, and billion-dollar what-ifs, hit subscribe, because today we're talking about how IBM, the king of computers, gave away the digital throne. For most of the 20th century, IBM was the giant everyone else measured themselves against. They didn't just dominate computing, they defined it. Massive mainframes, punch cards, and blue-suited salesmen, IBM was the machine that powered the business world. If you worked in tech, you wanted to work for IBM. If you competed with them, you wanted to survive. By the late 1970s, IBM controlled over 70% of the global computer market. Their systems ran banks, airlines, governments, even the moon landing. But in garages and basements across America, something new was happening. Small personal computers were popping up, cheap, accessible, and fast evolving. Apple, Commodore, and a dozen startups were creating machines for ordinary people. IBM had ignored them at first. These hobbyist computers seemed like toys, not serious business machines. But when Apple released the Apple II and it started showing up in schools and offices, IBM realized the world was changing fast. They needed to enter the personal computer market, and they needed to do it now. For IBM, this was unfamiliar territory. They were used to decade-long development cycles and complex corporate hierarchies. But in 1980, they couldn't afford to move slowly. Apple was already capturing the future. So IBM did something radical. They broke their own rules. They formed a secret team called the Entry Systems Division based in Boca Raton, Florida. Their mission: build a personal computer in under a year. To move fast, they decided not to build everything themselves. Instead, they'd buy parts off the shelf, processors, memory, drives, and assemble them into an IBM-branded machine. But there was one piece missing: an operating system, the software that would make it all work. At the time, Microsoft wasn't a tech giant. It was a tiny software company run by Bill Gates and Paul Allen. They made programming languages for early computers, but they didn't have an operating system. When IBM approached them, Gates saw opportunity. He didn't have what they needed, but he knew who did. A small company in Seattle Computer Products had built an OS called QDOS, Quick and Dirty Operating System. Microsoft quietly bought the rights to it for $50,000. They renamed it MS-DOS, made a few improvements, and presented it to IBM as if it were their own. IBM accepted. The deal was simple. IBM would license MS-DOS for their new computer, the IBM PC. But here's the twist. Gates didn't sell the software outright. He licensed it. That meant Microsoft could sell the same operating system to anyone else who wanted it. And that one decision changed everything. In 1981, the IBM PC hit the market. It was sleek, fast, and came with a name people trusted. The demand was instant. Businesses lined up to buy them. Schools, homes, and offices, everyone wanted one. The IBM brand gave personal computers legitimacy. But what really mattered wasn't the hardware, it was the software inside. MS-DOS became the invisible foundation of the PC revolution. Every time a user booted up, Microsoft got paid. And because IBM had agreed to a non-exclusive deal, clone manufacturers could make cheaper IBM-compatible PCs all running MS-DOS. IBM had built the market, Microsoft owned it.
We'll have something active going on there. Now while that's going on, I'll switch back and you can see that we're in a directory operation.
By the mid-1980s, IBM was surrounded. Companies like Compaq, Dell, and Gateway were selling cheaper versions of IBM's own computer, identical inside, but without the IBM logo. And every one of them ran Microsoft's software. IBM tried to fight back by creating a new proprietary system called the PS2 with a new OS, but the world had already standardized on MS-DOS. The open architecture that IBM thought would speed up development ended up destroying their control. They had accidentally created the PC industry and handed it to Microsoft. By the early 1990s, Microsoft's dominance was absolute. Every major computer maker needed their software. When Windows launched, it became the universal operating system. IBM, meanwhile, was left selling hardware in a world where hardware didn't matter anymore. Their machines were powerful but expensive, and the profits flowed elsewhere. Bill Gates became the richest man in the world, Microsoft became a monopoly, and IBM, once the face of computing, faded into the background. Ironically, IBM's story mirrors Xerox's. Xerox invented the personal computer but didn't believe in it. IBM built it but gave it away. Both companies underestimated software, the true engine of the digital age. They thought the value was in the machine. It wasn't. It was in the code. And while IBM engineers were refining circuit boards, Microsoft was refining the ecosystem that would define the next 40 years. So what if IBM had made a different choice? What if they had owned MS-DOS outright or built their own operating system from scratch? They could have dominated not just hardware, but software too. IBM might have become both Microsoft and Apple in one. They had the resources, the talent, and the head start, but they didn't have the vision. IBM's leadership believed software was a commodity, something that came with the hardware, not something you built an empire on. That single miscalculation handed Microsoft the keys to the digital world. IBM's story is the ultimate warning about underestimating change. They weren't destroyed by incompetence or scandal. They were destroyed by tradition. They believed what had always worked would always work. But the world doesn't care about history. It rewards whoever builds the next one. IBM built the computer. Microsoft built the future. One bet on hardware, the other bet on possibility, and only one of them is still relevant today. When historians look back at the birth of the personal computer, they see two moments, one in a garage with Apple and one in a boardroom with IBM. Apple created the dream, IBM made it real, and Microsoft, they monetized it. It's a story as old as innovation itself. The pioneer doesn't always win. Sometimes the genius isn't the inventor, it's the one who knows what to do with the invention. Thanks for watching Missed Billions Explained. If you enjoyed this story, hit like, subscribe, and tell us which billion-dollar mistake you want to see next. Because somewhere, right now, another company is making the same mistake and building someone else's empire.